Welcome to Between the Lines, a podcast hosted by Beaumaris Lions Club. This morning we are talking to Melinda Shelley of 123Read2Me, a charity that I'm sure a lot of Lions are very familiar with. But for those that don't know, it's a charity that puts books into the hands of children.
So welcome, Melinda. Just to start off with, can you tell me what made you so passionate about getting books into children's lives?
Well, I struggled at school with reading and writing, and so I know what it's like to, find it challenging at school. And so then I've learned more and more about how many children across the country don't have access to children's books. And I've realised that there's something that we can do about it, and I'm crazy enough to put my hand up and say yes. And so that's sort of like why I keep doing it. And the more I do it, the more I find children that need books.
When you started, what did you find was the most surprising thing that was difficult for you?
Well, I think it's the same thing that sort of challenges me today is that we know that children need books to succeed. Like, it's not rocket science. It's just, the simple act of opening a book and reading a story, and even just one book a day is enough to make a massive difference for a child's life. And yet there are so many children who don't have access to books. So that level of, I suppose, frustration, disbelief that, when we live in the education state, and yet there are too many children coming to school who have never even opened a book. So that frustration of, like, we know what to do and yet we're not doing it.
And you're still finding that's the problem?
Well, that's why we have the problem. And then we need to actually, that's why I had to, set up the charity and do something about it. But I still wonder, like, I know these kids need books. Why don't our politicians, for example, this is really a state responsibility. And yet, we're getting calls from schools, that have 600-800 children who don't have any books in their library because they have no money in the budget for it.
It sounds unbelievable, doesn't it?
Well, I'm not making it up. Like, it's just that crazy that you go, we want these kids, we talk about closing the gap, and we talk about, the poverty cycle and poverty trap, and yet we're not doing anything about it. A lot of people are talking about it, but words are not going to solve this problem. Children need actual physical books and someone who will sit down and read to them.
And what difference does it make that having someone read to you when you're young?
It makes a massive difference, such that all those brain neural connections just happen automatically. And it's a great opportunity for parents and grandparents to just have that quiet time in, a lot of people's lives are very busy at the moment. Just have that special time to just share a story. It might be a familiar story that you've read over and over again, but children get a lot of comfort in actually the story. And then the impact it makes if you talk to any primary school teacher and kindergarten teacher, the impact and the difference for children that have been read to is just enormous. And these children, they start ahead and they stay ahead, such that, these gaps are starting to open up in Year 9, where a child from a disadvantaged community can be 5 years behind their more advantaged, counterpart. So as a teacher, you're dealing with someone in Year 9 who's reading at grade 5 level. Like, they're so far behind, the reality is most of them never catch up.
And what is it about reading to your children that helps with the literacy skills? I would have thought it's teaching someone to read, but you're saying just the act of reading.
Well, everything that I've sort of read about the value of reading is, one, it's that closeness, so that sort of connection with a family member, or it could be, cousin or a neighbour. And then there's also the language, because when you think of a new word, if you don't know how it's pronounced, how do you know how it's pronounced? And then if you don't hear it in a story, how do you know what it means? So there's lots of things. If you take, the Very Hungry Caterpillar, for example, talks from the days of the week. It talks about counting. It talks about fruit. And for anyone who's sort of been in those baby years where, some days are very long, often you need something to just, peg your day in, that the washing can wait, the meals that need to be prepared can, sit there and wait, and then just to open a book and have that, special moment, however chaotic life is. And they'll be the things that help children, evidence shows that they succeed at school. And then they also learn a lot of values that, what do we do when someone's disappointed or someone's hurt or things don't work out? There's a lot of learning in that about, you might be talking about Harry McClary, but if you talk about all those dogs and his friends and they're all different, so, we can talk about all those different things and we can use that as a jumping off point to talk about some of the hard things in life.
And your charity has been going for quite some time. I mean, you're doing really well, but there's no such thing as an overnight success. What do you think are your characteristics, your personal characteristics that enabled you to succeed in this space?
Well, I think some people would say it's my pig-headedness. Other people say it's my focus and determination. And I have a great family around me, like my husband and son, who's 14. However reluctant at times he is, like, oh, Mum, do we have to go and sort books again? That I said, and I remind him, like, he has books, whatever he wants to read. And then I have my parents have always helped me and supported me, and because you can't do this job on your own. That and then being inspired by other people who put their hand up and say yes. And I'm now starting to enjoy a lot of autobiographies and biographies of people that, success is not just a straight line. There's lots of twists in the road. And then now I'm saying, well, if I hadn't gone through that and my, challenges at school, if I hadn't experienced that, I would never have even thought about, reaching back to children who are in that same situation today.
And can you just explain how 123 operates, just for those people who might not know?
Well, it's very, very simple. Basically, we, as everyone knows, their children grow out of their books. So we ask for people to donate their children's books, and we use the term gently loved. That so some of them, we're also happy to accept new books. And then we have donation bins out in the community. So we have some donation bins in Officeworks. We just got some new bins in Coles. Some Bunnings stores are on board and some Bendigo banks. And we have some primary schools and secondary schools and childcare centres that have a donation bin. So people get to drop off their books, and then we have volunteers that go and pick them up, and then we sort them out, and then we redistribute them back out we start at the bottom, so the most disadvantaged communities, and then we go out to community events and markets and anywhere. We also have what I call the Operation Takeaway, where we have boxes of free books in fish and chip shops. Because a lot of our families that we target have a lot of unknowns in their life. So a lot of these families don't go to libraries. So we've decided, well, we'll take the books to where the children are, so then children can help themselves. And we also have free book days at primary schools where we give enough for each student to take home 2 books of their choice. And it's very low tech. We just hand them out, and all we ask from the schools is that if we can have a couple of photos and some letters of appreciation that we can then share with the people that donate to us to show the impact and the effect that it has on their students. And then we can share it on social media, and it's sort of like the magic pudding. The more we do it, the more there is to do.
Melinda, I know that the charity has grown quite substantially from starting off from books in your garage, and basically you being the one trying to distribute everywhere, to now you have a warehouse and quite a good network. Looking forward this year, what are you most excited about?
Well, I'm very excited about to continue our great relationship with the Lions clubs. That we have a lot of Lions clubs on board, and we're starting to get a few Kiwanis coming on board, and also Rotary clubs. And so because there is more work than we can all actually do. So anyone who's interested in getting involved, feel free to get in touch. but my vision for this year is to actually secure some serious funding, because our limitation is warehousing. We've been very delighted to have the support of the Pelicano company. They've donated about 200 square metres of warehousing. But what we need is about 600 square metres. So then we've got some space for our volunteers to come and sort books, some warehousing space. And then I want to open a free children's bookshop and a like a cafe spot, so that it can be a bit of a destination. And then, grandmas can bring their grandchildren down, schools could come in and sort books and learn about, the values of volunteering and giving back to the community. And then we'd love to hear from corporates who'd like to come and, donate a couple of hours, sort some books, see what we do, see the impact, and then see how they could come and actually be a part of the solution and make a massive difference. And it's the future of our country, because if we have, more children reading, they're going to finish school, they're going to go to university, they're going to get better jobs, they're going to not make mistakes in the jobs. So then we're going to get more economic activity. Because most people don't realise that a 1% increase in literacy creates a 3% increase in GDP. So I'm only going for 1%, and I figure that'll be my job's done.
Now, you say you have volunteers coming in. I know some Lions clubs go in. What are your volunteer days, and do you still have spots for people to come in and help pack books?
Yes, we always have spots for volunteers, because we'll just put another table up and you can sort more books. So we sort books on Thursdays and Saturdays from 10 till 1 in our warehouse in Heatherton. And just give us a ring so we know you're coming, so we'll make sure we've got enough. We usually start at 10 and then we have morning tea at 11. And then we finish off about 1 sort of thing. So it's lots of fun. Lots of people get to know each other, and they're actually creating new friendships and connections. So if there's anyone out there who's feeling a bit, their life's changed, that, might have retired, they might have find themselves on their own, or they're still waiting for their grandchildren to come along, or their grandchildren are interstate, come along and we'll find a job for you. So if you don't know much about books, there's always making boxes or moving boxes around. And but if there's any librarians or teachers out there, we would love you to come, because we actually do a double sort with the books. So the first level is to make sure the books are clean, there's no tears. And then the second sort is just to make sure, it goes to the baby box and the kinder box. And it's a bit of grey area, but for some people have no idea what's suitable for a teenager and what's for a baby. So we're always, and because, the more volunteers come, the more books we can get and the more children we can reach.
And what is on your wish list for this year?
My wish list is to start actually creating our own books. That one of the things particularly for disadvantaged kinders and childcare centres, is they don't have the budget to go and buy books. So I'm working on a children's book about dealing with starting kinder and dealing with the anxiety of, separation anxiety. So I've got all starting to sort of pull together, and I want to find a photographer, or I'm thinking of maybe even creating a bit of a competition for parents to send in photos of their kinder kids to be part of the book. So, a lot of children may not have the imagination to, when, they're playing Play-Doh, what are the 10 different things you can do with Play-Doh? So I'm thinking of if I could set out, some ideas, and then get the community to help us and send in photos of your children, what do they do with Play-Doh, and then get them included in a book, and then we can share it out and, inspire, even when you're at home going, I don't know, what am I going to do today? So, let's open the 123Read2Me book and let's see what we can do. So that's on my to-do list, amongst other things. So maybe also learn to say no might be the other priority.
Yes, because you're working and you're doing this in between all of that. How do you manage? You have a child and...
Well, and we also homeschool our son. So I think it's just because I want to do it. And it's the best personal development course I've ever been on, because all I'm ever dealing with is what's going on in my head, that, what I make it, what does it mean to me? And so I use that to challenge my limiting beliefs and, well, maybe I am, able to do this and create it. And so I just keep, as long as I'm facing in the right direction, I may not be making much progress. And then I keep talking to people to say, like, this is what we're doing. We want people who love what we do, so they'll, come and join the team and be part of the solution.
Yeah. And can you give everyone a bit of an idea of how much work actually goes into this? Because it's not as simple. It's a very simple concept. Collect some used books from somewhere and give them to somewhere else. But there's a lot of work that goes into this.
Well, sometimes I feel like I'm juggling, but then everyone's sort of juggling, in this day and age, and particularly after, the last couple of years that, a lot of the challenging times that everyone has been through and are still going through. I think it's like working out what is important and realising there's some things that you just have to say, I haven't got time to do that. And I'm also a big proponent of decluttering and simplifying my life. And I found a few great YouTubers, Minimal Mum and I can't remember the other lady's name, but it's like you sort of go, right, there's only so many hours in the day. And and Dana K. White, she talks about the container method. It's like that's how much space you've got, whether it's your time or a shelf or a drawer. Put in the most important things first, and then it makes it easier to sort of like, you can't just shove everything in because you'll end up being a wreck. So
could I ask you for a couple of personal recommendations, your favourites in the kindy and then the older kids books?
Well, my favourite, I suppose you can see in the background there, I've got Where's the Green Sheep, Very Hungry Cat.
I love that one.
And Brown Bear sort of thing. They're probably my, when I have some funding, I buy those books to give to kinders that don't have their own copies. And for primary school age, I think it's like finding those special books, particularly for children that really lights their imagination up. That and a lot of it might be just try lots of different books, and it's just getting recommendations for what's current now and new books sort of thing. So, and it's like and any book, it's like sort of, there's some great old books before they're all edited out of like the PC brigade but it's like just read whatever it is, and even as a parent, whatever you're interested in. It's just the language and hearing the sound and taking the time, because actually role modelling for children is a really powerful impact on children. So if they see you reading, then it means it's important to you, and it makes such a massive difference to their future.
Yes, and that bedtime story can be such a wonderful tradition, isn't it? Reading to your children.
And cherish it, even though it's like the 100th time you've read, the book sort of thing, because there'll come a day when they go, no, I don't want it, Mum, sort of thing. So I know it's challenging in those days where you just go to sleep. So but those days will come and go, and you'll look back on, and then you'll have special memories to enjoy for the rest of your life.
Well, Melinda, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you would like to share with everybody out there that you'd like them to know about 123 Read to Me?
Just come and join us. We've got plenty of books. For example, we actually took some time off over book sorting over summer, Christmas break, and we had 26 pallets of books donated. And that was me being very quiet on social media. So if there's anyone out there who needs books, who has books, feel free to donate. If you know someone who's got a 600 square metre warehouse, we're a fully tax deductible charity. We're happy to promote you far and wide, and you get to be a hero too, sort of thing. There's not many opportunities in life to, look back and go, I did that, sort of thing. So come and join us, and if you've got books, you've got children who need books anywhere in the country, we can sort out transport, whether it's through donations or getting trucking companies on board, because it's not time dependent. So when they've got space, they can just throw a pallet of books on. So we've donated, I think it's about 25 pallets up to Lismore with the floods that have happened. And then we also did books up to Townsville for their floods, 4 or 5 years ago. And we've had 3 pallets of books up to Tennant Creek Primary School. So we can reach out as far as, our networks will allow us.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that you were doing interstate.
Yes, so no, we've also partnered up with the Lions Hear Me Roar project up over in Adelaide. So any books donated at the Officeworks stores in Adelaide go to the Lions Hear Me Roar project sort of thing. So they put bags of books, about 6 books in a bag for children that go into hospital and all sort of and foster care systems. So it's sort of like just that partnership to just get books into these children's hands.
Melinda, honestly, it's such a fantastic charity and you're doing so well. And thank you for taking the time to come and join me and talk to the rest, to somebody who might not have known about 123Read2Me.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity, Megan, and thank your club for all the support that you give me. And I'd just like to thank the Mordialloc Mentone Lions Club for their belief in everything that I've been doing, because without their help, we wouldn't have got this far. So thank you to all the members of the Mordialloc Mentone Lions Club, and a special thank you to our long-time volunteers who turn up week in, week out, who, again, we couldn't do what we do without your help. We're very appreciative of all the time that you donate to us to help children across Australia be all that they can be.